Tell us about this procurement process that NZTA is doing.
Well, NZTA is going to lead, along with the Treasury and the Ministry of Transport, effectively two processes: a market sounding process to see, what is out there, what are the forms and mechanisms of financing of a project like this, and then establish a robust process for us to be able to analyse those potential financing options and ultimately select one for the building of the rapid transit network.
So the super funds indicated interest in that. Can you explain exactly how that's come about and what's happening there?
Well, that's what's called an unsolicited offer. The super fund have clearly seen this government's desire to make rapid progress when it comes to a more sustainable transport network in Auckland. What they put together as an offer, and I think you've seen a media release that they put out about the nature of that. We welcome the interest, but it will be considered alongside any other offers as part of this process.
What sort of interest are you expecting in this?
I imagine there'll be significant interest in this. I mean, this will be one of the largest transport projects we've ever seen in New Zealand, and I imagine there'll be significant interest in people getting behind it. We need a good, robust process that allows us to analyse all of the options for financing this and make sure we get the best deal for New Zealanders.
If they came to you a month ago with this offer, why did you even take it to the procurement process? Why not just give them the contract?
Well, we want to run a fully fledged process to ensure New Zealanders get value for money. Just because someone comes to us with an unsolicited offer doesn't mean we automatically accept that. We certainly welcome the interest here, but we need to make sure that we sound out the whole of the market to see what is possible.
How long plan New Zealand Super to announce this today, or was this a surprise to them?
We let them know that we were making the announcement today.
What other investment interest have you had so far on this project?
There's been a lot of interest out in the community, but no formal proposals submitted. So we're now going to run a competitive and transparent process. First, market soundings to invite expressions of interest about precisely how we might structure the financing and governance of the project. And then I would expect that will be followed shortly afterwards with a competitive tendering.
How long do you think that process will take?
I would hope that the whole process will be completed within sort of 6 to 12 months, certainly no more than that.
Are you surprised by their unsolicited proposal?
Yes.
Why?
Well, we haven't seen something like this in New Zealand before, and so it's obviously an interesting model. As you would have seen from the super fund's own media release, they are structuring a consortium to work through this. But as I say, they will now be assessed alongside any other possible way of doing this project.
Will they expect some guaranteed income from the lines?
You would expect in an arrangement like this, any investor taking on a project like this would want a revenue stream, and I can't comment any further about what that would look like. That will all be worked out through the procurement process and tendering.
Would you be willing to promise that to them?
Well, I think if you want to do a project like this in some kind of partnership arrangement, then the investor will need a revenue stream to make it work.
And that's how it works with public-private partnerships in general. That's the whole way that they work.
Is this, I mean, you guys are ideologically against PPPs. Why is this an exception?
We're not against PPPs. We have an aversion to private public partnerships in things like schools and hospitals and prisons, where we don't believe the profit dynamic is helpful in those sectors. But actually in transport infrastructure, urban development, housing, public-private collaboration is a marriage made in heaven.
One of the things that this proposal highlights is the fact that there are many different types of partnerships around the world. You have what are called public-public partnerships and public-private partnerships. It's now our job to assess the various mechanisms that are out there and then make our decision about what's best for New Zealanders.
Have you got a preference in terms of having
private or a public-public?
I think you'd need to talk to the New Zealand Super Fund about how they might classify themselves.
Is there a prospect that this will eventually return to public ownership after a set time frame, or will the super fund and its investors own it for good until they decide to get rid of it?
The super fund's unsolicited proposal suggests that they would build, operate and own it in perpetuity. But look, there are infinite options on the table. We're going to run a competitive process, and any number of possible arrangements are on the table.
And when you do that analysis, will you also compare the cost of government simply using its own money?
Yes, that's my expectation. So long-term borrowing, for instance, by the National Land Transport Fund, could be one way that we do this.
Is having a New Zealand investor like the New Zealand Super Fund preferable to having other overseas entities looking to get involved?
We're not going to express any preference about that today. We want to look and make sure we do a project here that delivers for Aucklanders what they need in terms of meeting their transport needs and provides value for money for New Zealanders. That's exactly the process we're now asking NZTA, Treasury and the Ministry of Transport to develop for us, and then we can assess all of the proposals against that.
And will you be
Is
outlining...
this really going to be an open, transparent and competitive process when you have made this particular proposal public?
Yes, it will be. It will absolutely be an open process. And I think had we not made this public, we would equally be accused of not being transparent and not giving people a full understanding of what's out there at the moment. So, the judgment was made that we wanted to say this is what's out there, but also be equally clear that we will be assessing this against all other ways of financing and building this project.
So every time you get an offer from an unsolicited offer from an investor, will you be making that public like you did this morning with the super fund?
I think, look, now we've entered into the process, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I would argue that from now on they won't be unsolicited because we're developing a process in order to solicit offers, and I'm sure that's what will occur from here.
So what's the
Sorry,
difference
James,
between making an unsolicited offer public and a solicited offer public?
Well, we haven't actually started the process, so that's why it was called an unsolicited offer.
Sorry, why this one?
Well, because now that we are launching into setting out the market soundings, it would be unfair to everybody if we didn't let them know that this unsolicited offer had come through. We would have let people know about any other unsolicited offer that we got as well. Sorry, James, we really are.
I was just going to ask something else. Did you raise any concerns about Winston Peters' budget announcement about the scale of the budget?
Concerns about it? Well, no, that's the budget that I'm responsible for, so I absolutely welcome the fact that Mr Peters has announced a strong commitment for New Zealand to lift the capability of our foreign service and also support the Pacific Reset.
I'm thinking about exactly how much budget. It's a lot of money. Did you raise any concerns about how much money?
There's a budget process where we negotiate many things, but I'm delighted that New Zealand is now in a position to be able to show leadership in our Pacific region.
He wasn't happy with how...
We never give away things like that. Every minister, in my experience, asks for more.
He said that he was going to be looking for more, and he was going to start lobbying the day after the budget and looking to substantially increase the amount of funding that they got. How likely is he to see more money in this area?
He'll join a queue of other ministers the day after the budget doing precisely the same thing.
Back to light rail. Be more comfortable with the prospect of private investment and infrastructure projects if that investment is coming from a super fund that they own.
Well, I don't think it's in anyone's interest for us to comment particularly on that at the moment. You can ask New Zealanders what they think of it. What we'll be looking for is the deal that provides the best long-term transport solutions for Auckland and the best value for money for New Zealanders.
So you can say it's politically convenient for a public body to be the one.
It is what it is. It's an unsolicited offer. We put it out there that it's happened. We now go to the market to test other offers.
So are there other projects, the other light rail lines in Auckland where you'd be open to this sort of prospect?
I mean, in principle, we're open to looking at innovative new funding and financing approaches. You'll remember that when we unveiled the Auckland Transport Alignment Project a week or two ago, that we only put $1.8 billion in there for the light rail project for a rapid transit program. That was because we knew that we would be looking to finance it, and that $1.8 billion was there as seed money, essentially. Now, there's more to do building the rapid transit network, and there are also, you think about Wellington and Christchurch, who also have aspirations in this area.
So how much of that,
Yes, I expect that, a very strong expectation, and I know Associate Minister Julian Genter does as well, that SkyPath will be built through the National Land Transport Program in this term of government.
Through a PPP?
They tried to make it work through a PPP and it fell over, so I think we're more likely just to build it through the National Land Transport Program.
So how much of that $1.8 billion therefore is up to help out with the two rail lines you've got?
We can't really answer that question at the moment, and it will depend on the competitive tendering process and negotiations that follow.
What is the latest?
Do you expect to hold any sort of stake or ownership of
We haven't resolved that yet.
What's the latest cost estimate for these two lines that you've got?
Approximately $6 billion. It would be the biggest transport project in New Zealand history.
And in terms of revenue, whoever wins this bid, they'll be able to, I assume, take some money from the tickets that are sold, but the value capture that you were tossing around a little while ago, they'll presumably be able to get income from that via the council, maybe?
It's our hope that land value capture will be one of the revenue streams that will help to finance this project.
Right.